Hello, and welcome to the All Things Food Podcast. I am your host, Peter Kim, and this is my podcast where we talk about all things related to the wonderful world of food. I have a new mic set up here. I did a little mini test in my jammies just a couple hours ago, just to, get the best audio possible. So I busted up my little Rode mic. We'll see if this works. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, recording won't drop. If for some reason I look down, it's because I'm looking down at my my audio recorder just to make sure it's still recording and the levels are still good to go. All right. I'm kind of doing a 6-episode shoot this afternoon/evening. It is actually evening already. On today's episode, let's talk about what makes a great food city. A great food city. Like, if you think about, when I say the great food cities of the world, what are some cities that pop into your mind? I'm guessing probably New York is what pops into most people's minds. Maybe, I don't know. What else would people think of? Like, maybe not London, right? I don't think so. I don't know, Tokyo? Do people going to think Tokyo maybe? Is Chicago up there? I don't know. I mean, I try not to do research for these podcasts because I just want to bring my own opinions, and I don't just want to copy something that you can just look up on your own on Google. So, yeah, I did see I did a little bit of research, just like literally like 5 or 10 minutes. And Chicago is up there in terms of the popular food cities. But I don't know. I would be surprised. I mean, that's from like a couple of websites and magazines or whatever. But I would be surprised if most people actually agree. Even in Chicago. I mean, in Chicago, you'll have people who will love on Chicago, saying Chicago's the best, Chicago's the greatest city in the world. I would maybe take issue with that. I don't know. Actually, no, I know. I would take issue with that because there are a lot of amazing cities in the world, which we'll talk about. I'll talk about most of the cities I'll talk about. I'm G-chatting with my wife right now. No one G-chats anymore. That's the clicking noise. So what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about cities that I've visited, but a bunch of cities actually for this podcast, for this episode, a bunch of cities I haven't, but, when you think about the greatest food cities in the world, there's no way that you can visit, all the great cities of the world when it comes to food. But I am from Chicago, so I will reference Chicago a bunch, probably. And I have visited a bunch of cities in the U.S., New York, Seattle, Austin, among others. Those and L.A., and Vegas. But Vegas, I was there to gamble, not to eat, primarily. So, definitely, those are a good number of cities, of big cities. You wouldn't consider Geneva, Wisconsin a foodie city, right? So those are the big cities that would fall under that category. I lived in Seoul, Korea for a number of years, and I visited Japan, Tokyo, Kyoto, and Osaka, but Tokyo a few times. So that's pretty much the big experience in terms of food-wise, like city-wise. So that's my kind of background here. So let's get into it. What makes a great food city? I've narrowed it down to 4 different categories. Before I forget, comment below, subscribe, subscribe to the podcast, and leave comments. What would you consider, before you hear my 4 categories, what categories would you consider when you think about evaluating a city for its food quality, to consider a city a great food city? Love to hear your thoughts. All right. So, 4 categories. They follow AAVE. I don't want to bother coming up with a fun acronym. Maybe you can leave comments below on what a fun acronym could be made from AAVE. No offensive content, please. Be nice, be chill, be cool about it. All right. So let me just check. I don't know why I just keep checking my Instagram. Oh, Instagram, by the way, Peter BB Kim at Instagram. Check it out. So let's get to it. 4 categories to evaluate a city, to see if it's a great food city. And in this podcast, that's all I'll be talking about, is going through my reasoning of why I think these are 4 different categories. Okay, first category is number 1, affordability. Affordability. Can people afford the food? So, for example, I've never been there, but I'm assuming in Dubai, in the UAE, I'm assuming that the food is a little bit more pricey than, let's say Madison, Wisconsin, or Des Moines, Iowa. I'm assuming that the food in Dubai is going to be more expensive because it's a freaking desert. You got to ship everything in. I seriously, truly, I could look it up, but I'm not gonna. I could look up what they actually grow in Dubai, but I don't know. And I could come up with some stereotypical bullshit, but I don't want to do that because it'll be borderline racist. And, let's just not go there. But, I have no idea what they grow in Dubai, but I'm assuming that the food has to be shipped in, and therefore, and because I know that Dubai is a very wealthy city as a whole, I know that's a whole other topic that, I'm not going to get into, but I'm assuming that the food's going to be expensive. So for me, Juneau, Alaska will not be in consideration for a possible greatest food cities in the world. Because you have to fly everything in there. You got to ship everything in there. So affordability, things are going to be expensive. And you know what? Maybe people can't afford all the good eats that a city has to offer. Affordability. Now, of course, in any city, you're going to have a huge range of restaurants of different types of cuisine. But even that, like some cities, and this will go against Chicago, some cities don't have like street food. To me, that's such an important category of food. If you don't have street food in your city, that's a serious knock against it, because what the hell? Because if you've never lived in a city with street food where you can, living in Seoul, man, you can get you can get a small plate of snacks, this rice cake dish called tteokbokki. It's a very spicy rice cake snack for like $2, and get some fish cake on there, get some oreng and stuff. It's great. $2.50. Okay, that's what you miss out when you don't have street food. Now I know, let's say like LA, where it was kind of the birthplace of a lot of fusion stuff, and I know the kimchi taco trucks came from there by Roy Choi. There's something to be said. I'm not sure about the pricing on that stuff, but there's something to be said about cheap food that anyone can buy, that anyone can afford. If I don't give a shit if your city only has the greatest Michelin rated restaurants in the world, if it's expensive as hell, then I don't give a shit, because I'm never gonna go there. I'm definitely not a fine dining person. Now, when it comes to the question of fine dining, I am not a fine dining person, simply because I don't have the money, and I don't have the money to throw $500 at a dinner at Alinea, or $300 for a lunch there, or however much it costs. My upper limit is pretty much, for like an amazing meal, pretty much like $100. I'm not going to go over $100 for a good meal. And then it's like the meal's at $100. If it's $100, it's not going to be the best in the world, probably, especially fine dining. So then you might as well go down to like a $50 meal and go to like a regular place. I just use air quotes for those listening on the podcast, and just get a great meal at like, a nice place, a good place, but it's something that's not going to be on a Michelin list probably, and it's going to be very satisfying. So affordability is important. The fine dining stuff, I would consider that like the cherry on the top. I know that fine dining has a place. I know that fine dining restaurants have an effect on the culture, But when it comes to like a normal person, like for example myself, who's looking for a good meal, I don't want to be priced out of that. And so that's why affordability is an important category. Affordability. Can people afford the food? Okay, but that's pretty basic. I mean, like Chicago, just because food trucks are not a big thing here, it doesn't automatically, kick you out. But there's still plenty of good, cheap eats, So I would say that category eliminates a lot of the outliers, like the isolated remote places. I would never consider like a remote island in Fiji. I would never consider that a city or a town or whatever you call it, in that area, in that remote location, to be considered, the greatest food city in the world. Because how can it be? There's just no way. Second category, accessibility. This is what I call the burger question. How far do I have to travel to get a good burger? If I got to travel 30, 40 minutes to get a good burger, there is something wrong. Can people get to the food? Yes, there might be an amazing bakery, but is there like one? And do all the others suck? And do most people have to drive like an hour just to get there? Well, guess what? That kind of takes it out of the running of like the greatest bakery in the city in the world, because you got to be able to get to it. And this is where the Asian cities have an advantage, because again, I'm just going off of my experience from Seoul and Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto, but I've heard similar things about Vietnam and Thailand. And I can speak from myself for my experience in Seoul, is that you can get food fast, cheap, and quick. I'm talking like fried chicken places. There's like maybe 6 fried chicken places within a 5-minute walk of my apartment in Korea. Versus here, there's this really good chicken place down the street, 5-minute walk. Besides that, I gotta take my car, gotta drive, 10, 15 minutes for one location. Oh, and there's another location up north that I'm gonna talk about later, Buffalo Joe's. Oh, okay, guess what? I gotta drive another 25, 30 minutes just to get there, just to eat my chicken. And so we're talking like, 4 or 5 places. So again, I mean, this bleeds into culture, but when it comes down to it, how easy is it to get my good eats? If I got to trek through a jungle to get the world's best, falafel, well, guess what? It's not going to look good on your greatest food city in the world score for accessibility, right? So, like, how abundant are the good eats? So again, you could have the greatest, pizza in the world. You can have the greatest Italian pizza in the world in a city, but if there's only one, and if there aren't a whole bunch of them, then not so great. Accessibility. Okay, the third category is variety. Yes, a city could have, again, the greatest noodles, the greatest pasta in the world. But if that city is nothing but the greatest pasta in the world, it could be considered to be a city to have the greatest pasta in the world, but it cannot be considered to be one of the greatest food cities in the world because they only have pasta. I exaggerate, of course, because what city has only pasta? That's kind of ridiculous, but you get my point. Variety. You have to have a lot of different types of cuisines. I've been to Gulfport, Mississippi. Met a lot of lovely people. This is way back when, like maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And it was a lovely trip. Met a lot of great people. Had a great time. Doing this is in a year after Katrina, just helping out there. And it was really wonderful. But guess what I didn't see? I didn't see a lot of sushi restaurants. I didn't see a lot of Korean restaurants. I didn't see a lot of, authentic Italian oven-cooked pizza places. I didn't see, a lot of kebab places. I didn't see a lot of Indian places. I saw a lot of Southern, like American South restaurants, which is great. It's great. I love me my fried chicken, and I love me my chicken and waffles, and I love a lot of Southern stuff. I love bacon. I love smoked meats. But in terms of variety, if one city is limited to just one cuisine, that could be great as a destination, but it kind of takes itself out of the running of greatest food city in the world. Because if you're going to be the greatest food scene in the world, you got to have all of the variety of foods available to human cultures in the world to be in that running. Now, this really narrows it, really knocks a lot of cities out, I feel. Because you could have a good regional specialty, but, so for example, I don't know. This is where I don't want to make generalizations, but let's say, again, somewhere in the South, like maybe Jackson, Mississippi. I don't know. Yeah, in the Gulf. Okay, let's go with that. Let's not go with that. If I was editing these things, I would totally edit that 20-second clip out, but I'm not editing these things. So let's take like Baton Rouge. No, of course. New Orleans. That's what I was thinking of. New Orleans, I've never been there. I want to go there. I don't know if it would be considered one of the greatest food cities in the world because it's such a specific location in terms of cuisine. Cajun, awesome, great. I am uneducated about that kind of cuisine. I want to learn more. I want to experience like truly excellent crawfish and all that good stuff. And I'm not even really completely clear on what other types of cuisines are available in that culture, in that panorama of Cajun food. I want to try it, but can I find a good bowl of ramen there? How's the pizza? They got some Indian food. They got some Indian curry. Yes? No? I have no idea. I've never been there. My guess is they don't have a lot of great curries. Okay, so variety to me is important if you're going to be considered to be one of the greatest food cities in the world. All right, so we got affordability. Can people afford it? Is there good cheap food in addition to the expensive stuff? Accessibility. How far do I have to travel to get a good burger? Variety. There are lots of different types of foods. Not just one regional cuisine. Lastly, of course, and maybe this is the most obvious, maybe this is the thing that most people think about when they think about the greatest food city in the world, is excellence. Excellence is my last category. Simply put, what do they have awesome stuff of? For example, maybe Cincinnati, Ohio has amazing Cincinnati fries. I think I've seen on different Food Network foodie shows. I saw, is it in New Mexico or Santa Fe or Albuquerque? They have like a New Mexico hot dog. I could look it up, but I'm not going to because I don't really care that much. But if you're only known for one thing and like you have like a really awesome one thing and that's it, and everything else is so you go to the city and you're like, oh, you have to get blah, blah, blah. And okay, cool, I got that. What else should I get? That's pretty much it. Then guess what? You cannot be considered one of the greatest food cities in the world because you have to have awesome, excellent, high-level XYZ, like lots of different stuff. Okay, so I kind of shat on Cincinnati. Let's think about Tokyo. Tokyo is an interesting one because, when you think about what would they have in Tokyo that is the best in class, best in the world? Are they going to have the greatest, what? I mean, they're going to have the greatest, probably, sushi, right? Probably, and I believe the best ramen. The best bowl of ramen I ever had. God, I'm going to have to do an episode about this because it just melted my heart. maybe yakitori, chicken skewers. The best. Okay, I always get this wrong. Not tonkatsu. I'm going to Google because it's kind of embarrassing. Right. It's kind of embarrassing because I've had so much of this. It is tonkatsu. Then what's the tonkatsu? But then what's the pork broth ramen? Pork broth ramen. Because it's tonkatsu and tonkotsu. Okay, see, I've been eating that for years, and I always get them mixed up. Maybe being exposed as a fraud in front of my camera and on audio, maybe that'll force me to remember it's tonkatsu for the deep fried cutlet and the tonkotsu for the pork flavored broth. Anyway, Japanese stuff. Tokyo is awesome at Japanese stuff. What else? I don't know. That's why it's like I hesitate to put Tokyo among the best food cities in the world because they have great, amazing, and I love Japanese food, but do they have the best fried chicken? Now, Japanese fried chicken, karaage, is pretty freaking awesome. But I don't know, it's just like if it's Japanese food is awesome, but if they only have awesome Japanese food, then I don't know. Can you consider it to be the greatest food city in the world? Let's think about London. I've never been to London. Even English people have told me that the food in London, in England more generally speaking, is not great. Even like people from the UK. Fish and chips? Fuck you. Fuck you. Come on. Deep fried fish and French fries? Fish and chips is going to be the thing that brings me across the Atlantic Ocean to London? For deep fried fish and French fries? Fuck you. Curry. Okay. Cool. I'd love to try amazing curry. Some people say. Now, Ugly Delicious already did things on cultural appropriation, but okay, fine. Maybe it has the best curry in the world, not India. Whatever. Fine. Okay. Fish and chips and curry. What else? And then you get into the gross shit, right? That English people eat. Fuck that. So yeah, I know that, you got all these fancy pants chefs, fine dining establishments that are at the top of their game in London, supposedly. I ain't interested. Nope. Chicago has been getting some press. That'll be another episode. Same thing with New York. Next episode I'm going to record is Chicago versus New York. Because, okay, Chicago. Let's go over the category. Let's get back to the category of excellence. Of course, pizza, Chicago deep dish pizza. Whether you like it or not, it is the best in class. I'll probably do a whole episode about Chicago pizza because people say, oh, it's not a pizza. Again, fuck you. Who cares? It's awesome. But Chicago does great hot dogs, Polishes. There's amazing. Is there really good sushi? I think there is. I've been kind of disappointed in my search, but I'm not hitting like the highest stuff. Again, I mentioned the food truck dilemma with Chicago. What the hell? Come on, give us some variety. You can get a great burger easy. Some of the best burgers in Chicago I've had is in Chicago. And you just have a lot of chefs doing innovative stuff, which is they're not at like ultra premium. Like, yes, you have Alinea and some other expensive stuff, but you also have a lot of like mid-tier restaurants that have amazing food. That not fast casual, like, that bistro thing, but after bistro was stopped being used. I don't even know what category they fit in. The Au Cheval's, where it's supposed to be the greatest burger in America. Those 20, 50, $10 to $20 dishes where it's not gonna, you're not gonna lose your rent because of it, but it's not cheap, but it's going to be amazing. So I remember like a few years ago, I went to this place called Bar Siena, and I haven't really even seen it on any lists. It's like right down the street from Au Cheval, and they had amazing food. Amazing food, like, and this is a few years ago, but it seems kind of trite or kind of stereotypical for a hipster fancy place, but like, truffle oil fries and things like that. It was awesome. It was delicious, and there are just so many places. I mean, I've hit a few different Korean fried chicken places in Chicago. Awesome. A lot of Mexican cuisine, because Mexican people, they work their butts off, and they have a lot of good restaurants. I take issue with LA people always saying that the best Mexican food in America is in LA, because I mean, Mexican people live everywhere in the United States, and there are like amazing Mexican restaurants everywhere, I think. So I've had amazing Mexican food here, and just the list goes on and on and on. A lot of great places, a lot of different cuisines. Where the whole world gets there. Speaking of where the whole world goes, New York. Of course, New York is going to be in the conversation, because I consider it, as a Chicagoan, I consider New York to be one of the greatest cities in the world. I'm not the only one. It's a very commonly held sentiment. And one of the reasons for that is because the whole world goes there. The freaking United Nations is there, because this is where people meet. This is where, the port of entry for America. This is where cultures from all over the world come together. And of course, they have among the best restaurants in the world, but they also have a lot of good cheap eats, like freaking one of the locations. I'm not sure if this is the original location of Joe's Pizza. Was awesome, amazing. I had 3 slices in about 15 minutes without even thinking. And because we were going to go eat a couple hours later, I said, Peter, no, we went directly to another pizza place, actually, I think. I was like, dude, you guys stop eating. I could have eaten 3 or 4 more pieces of pizza, and it wasn't expensive at all. Like, I think it was like $2, $3 per slice. Anyway, excellence. That's another category that I use to judge a restaurant, or I'm not a restaurant, I'm sorry, a city. And that's my list. Affordability, accessibility, variety, and excellence. How about you guys? What do you think is most important when it comes to evaluating a city for its food? What are some considerations? Do you look at the fine dining options? Do you look at, how many Michelin rated stars restaurants do they have in that city? Maybe, I don't know. Does grocery prices factor into it? New York, what do they use? Stars? No, not stars. What does New York use? The New York Times. Because that's a big deal, right? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. What do people look at? What do you look at when it comes to evaluating a city for the quality of its food? I'd love to hear it. Send a message, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell ringing button so that you can, get notified. I am trying to release these every week, but when I'm taping this right now, I have not released any of the episodes. So I'm going to get maybe 8 or 9 episodes, so about 2 months worth. And I'm going to try to release it every Monday morning, because that's one of my days off. So I can actually do it. The music that you hear at the beginning and end of the podcast is by Dexter Britton. Time to Run Finale is the name of the tune. I love that track. It gets me going. It makes me feel like I'm on a journey. If you have any questions, comments, love to hear feedback. Please be nice. Don't be an asshole. And if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at allthingsfoodpodcast@gmail.com for any suggestions or, again, topics. I have about 30 or 40 topics I'd like to cover. I'm not going to get to all of them. And what are your thoughts? Leave a comment below. Let me know what happened. All right. Thanks a lot, and stay hungry. Stay hungry is a tag I'm checking out. I'm trying out. So stay hungry. it's like it's layered. It has meanings. It has like many different layers of meanings. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's like metaphysical and all that shit. It's like philosophical, and yeah. So stay hungry. All right, let's do this.